When trying to summarise the transfer window for West Ham, the January transfer window, I think incompetence is the only word I can come up with really that sort of justifies exactly what the output was from West Ham overall. I think it was really, really poor and such a letdown. I don't know about yourself, but I feel really deflated actually after it. And that's all right. I'll get that it's slightly as well because we had a bit of a poor performance, didn't we, against Bournemouth, which doesn't help matters. But putting that aside, even if you just forget the result and performance, just forget that didn't happen, just look at the window on its own, forgetting the football around it. Because actually the results recently have been pretty good. If you look at our form, we've been okay. I know we've had obviously a bad exit in the FA Cup, but ultimately, I'm just talking about results-wise in the league, we're not in bad shape. But as I say, put the football aside, you look at the January transfer window, I'm really struggling to understand what happened actually with West Ham, and I don't understand why this football club seems to really struggle in January. Now I know that that we have done decent business in the past in these windows. I know we have. I know we bought Jared Bowen. We've had Thomas Souček come through the door in January, so I know that we have been successful in that regard. I'm not saying we've always been terrible, but the last few years have been really testing. Before I get into this, though, looking at our metrics, half of you watching this aren't subscribers, okay? So we really want to help build the channel. It really does help us out and it helps us grow and, you know, get more people involved, etc. and help us bring out more West Ham content. So if you're not a subscriber, just please click subscribe because it's free to do so. And click that like button as well for the video as well. That does help us out. Yeah, I'm struggling to understand what the plan was from West Ham. When you go back to the beginning of the month, when the window opened, West Ham done business very quickly. We offloaded Thilo Kehrer to Monaco. And to be honest with you, that gave me a real strong belief that West Ham had a plan in place. Because let's be honest, right? We brought in Tim Steidten to this football club. We've got Rob Newman here. We've got Mark Noble. We've got this committee that are dealing with the outgoings and incomings at the club, okay? And as far as I understood, that we've got a very now expansive scouting network across Europe, even going as far as other side of the world, in Brazil and things like that. So West Ham have got their finger on the pulse. They know the players they want to be bringing in. With that in mind, you would think that when we go into these January transfer windows, once that it opens, West Ham know what they're doing. They know who they're going to get rid of. They know who they're going to be bringing in. To an extent, I appreciate it's not FIFA. I get it. You know, you're not playing a game and suddenly you just click, I want him, and then within 10 minutes they're wearing the kit. I understand it's more complex than that. I do get it. But you'd have thought that West Ham would have done their due diligence in terms of identifying the players they want, understanding their wages, speaking to their agents, speaking to their clubs, getting a good feel of what we're going to be doing in the window. So once the window does open, effectively 75% of the job is done. You've just got to get the bit over the line. And I appreciate things can happen. I appreciate other clubs can come in and offer more money. Agents want to start touting their players around. I'm not suggesting it's just simple to get it done. But it's quite evident that West Ham really did none of that in terms of getting their finger on the pulse of knowing who they wanted to go for. Because we all know, right, as West Ham fans, we know that the issue going into this window was the left wing. That was a real big problem for our club. Saïd Benrahma's time at the club was up. It was quite evident that was the case, and it was likely that the club were going to let him go. Max Cornet is, well, the jury's significantly still out on him, isn't it? He's not, let's be honest, he's not favoured by David Moyes. I actually have got a little bit more hope in Cornet personally. I've seen parts of his game that I think, do you know what, there's a player there. We've seen a player there. We've seen what he did at Burnley. But if you just isolate forgetting Burnley, just look at his time at West Ham, it's really been poor. It's not been a good time for him at all. I'm sure it's a move he regrets. And you can quite clearly see that he's not favoured. So the left wing was a real big concern because, all right, I know we've got a Lucas Paqueta who can play out there. He doesn't really want to be playing there, does he? Let's be honest. He wants to be more central. Although he can do a job there, that I think was always the aim. That West Ham, we know it was because XWH employees said West Ham have said this, that they want to bring Paqueta into a more central role and bring in a new left winger. So that was our priority position to get sorted out. And as I've said, when the window opened, there was that real belief when they got rid of Kehrer. I mean, look, I'm not speaking for yourselves. You may feel differently, but when that happened, I thought this is a bit more like it. That's a club that's acting, getting on with it, knows what they want to do. But let's be honest, as the window went on, the wheels started to come off. Now, what I've done in my time when I've realised with these transfer windows, which can naturally sort of happen, when you sort of see a little bit of inactivity for a period, it's natural to get quite frustrated and feel like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? But if you cast your mind back to the summer, our business was done quite late, and our business was very, very good in James Ward-Prowse, in Mohamed Kudus, and the players we brought in. It was very, very successful. Let's be honest, the players we've done have done well. Edson Alvarez, they fitted in well to the club. So, in my mind, although the window was dragging on a little bit, I thought, yeah, but West Ham are doing the deals. They know what they want. They know the players are going to be getting. I'm sure they're just finalising bits and pieces, trying to get things over the line, but I'm sure they'll do it. But then obviously we come to sort of the 11th hour, typical West Ham. Well, let's call it the 10th hour. So let's say it was actually the 28th of January where the wheels really started to come off. You could sense that really West Ham have not done their homework at all correctly. And really, as I've said, in my view, come across completely incompetent. The player, the number one target, Ibrahim Osman, a deal's been agreed. The player wants to move. The player, we talk with that feet. It's all going to happen. Oh, it turns out we're talking to the wrong agent. And it now turns out the agent wants this. I mean, that is pathetic. That is absolutely pathetic. How could you not know all of this stuff going into the transfer window? Why are we? What have they been doing? There's got to be. I mean, West Ham after this window. If I was at the helm, I mean, maybe the man at the helm is one of the problems in this. Who knows? But well, we do know, don't we? Really, we do know there's some form of that. But if I was at West Ham now, I'd be saying I want to investigate. I'd be pulling these people into a room and saying, what the hell has gone on here? Because it wasn't just this. The whole window's turned into a shambles the last few days. And we know the reasons why, and I'm probably going to just sort of go over them quickly. But obviously, Ibrahim Osman, as I've said, we didn't realise who the agent was. It totally cocked us up completely. Legal issues. We then go for the number 2 target, Jota, the former Celtic winger, who's out in Saudi. Oh, it turns out we can't afford his wages because of tax issues. Why is it taking this long to decide that? How have our committee suddenly on the 28th of January gone, oh, we can't afford him? It's causing a bit too much. Again, legal issues. Well, why have we wasted all this time going from them? Why have we spent the best part of 3 weeks trying to get a player, then suddenly realise we can't afford him? I just don't understand it. Don't get it. And not only that, right? Not only did we go into a window knowing that we need to improve on our left wing, it's actually vital that we get it sorted out. We don't bring anyone in, but let go of 2 players that can play in that position, inside Benrahma and Pablo Fornals. I was happy to see the players go. Their time at West Ham was up as far as I'm concerned, but we've not put anybody in. So we've actually weakened our position. So we're worse than we were on that left side than we were to begin with. We're now relying on Cornet, or as David Moyes wants to try now, every bloody player he possibly can, besides Cornet. I'll just stick James Ward-Prowse out there. And I mean, playing against Bournemouth, you can see the guy he's like every fan, he's looking at Moyes thinking, what am I doing here, mate? I'm not a left winger. And then he puts bloody Calvin Phillips out there. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. And then brings Cornet on with 3 minutes to go. So again, as to sort of back up my point, he doesn't trust Cornet. So we literally now don't have a left winger. We've got Paqueta who's still injured. He's not going to be playing this weekend. Doing a preview for that later on, by the way. That'll be out a bit later on. But you have to question these things. You really do. You have to question what is going on at West Ham at the moment and what we've been doing, because that was shambolic, a really shambolic transfer window for West Ham, where we're in a position where we could be challenging for Champions League football this season. We're not miles away from it. And yet we've weakened ourselves. It's just, honestly, I'm puzzled and baffled and really let down by the club. I think they've, I know they're putting Calvin Phillips, okay? I appreciate Calvin Phillips. Calvin Phillips is a good signing. I'm not knocking that. But like many have said, in a way, it was kind of like, I'm glad we did the deal. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't the priority deal. The priority was the left wing. We always knew it was. I'm glad the club, I want to make it very clear, I'm glad the club brought in Calvin Phillips. I really am. I know he had a bit of a difficult debut. I kind of expected that a little bit anyway, with his the fact he hasn't really played much football, has he, for the last year or so. So he was always going to like to be a little bit rusty, maybe a little bit anxious possibly. He probably needs to settle down a little bit, but I think he'll be a great sign for West Ham. Pleased with that. Fair play, really good with that. But I'm really unimpressed with this left wing position. And then, of course, just to not only piss off West Ham fans further with a level of incompetence. But also just embarrass the club once again. Our handling of the selling of Benrahma and Fornals. Well, Benrahma hasn't been sold as he's gone on loan, but it's likely to be hopefully be they'll take up the option to buy him in the summer. But you know what I mean, to offload them both. We can't even get that right. We're now getting publicly criticised by 2 football clubs. So going, what's going on at West Ham? What on earth are our club playing at? What are they doing? I really thought that the days of the embarrassment and the shambles were kind of going to go behind us now. The fact we brought in Stuyton, the fact we've got this committee, that we've got this scouting network, and we're trying to modernise the club and really push us forward. And then this feels like a real big 2 steps back, doesn't it? This transfer window. And it's getting me really pissed off because it feels like now this is a running theme with the club at January. It feels like we can't handle January transfer windows. We don't really know what to do in them. I mean, how many years now? I mean, if you go back to the year that we finished 7th and we were in the Europa League and we got to the semi-finals, of course, went out to Frankfurt. I remember that January thinking, just bring a couple of players in, just get a couple of players in, we could go and win that Europa League. No, we didn't do it. Last season we did the same, didn't we? We're not good at January transfer windows. We don't seem to understand what to do. We are so incompetent when it comes to, and I don't get why. I don't understand, because other clubs don't seem to struggle. Tottenham, I just bring them up, but look at them. Look how they've handled the January transfer window really well. Got out and got their business done. They knew what they wanted. They've not mucked around. Brought in the good players they needed to. Brought in young players as well for the future. They're just getting on with their business. They're not mucking about. And I know we brought in Calvin Phillips, as I say. I'm pleased with that. But the left wing position is diabolical. It really is diabolical. We're now going into such a crucial period of our time as a football club, because West Ham now have got 16 games to go in the Premier League. That's not a lot, is it? A lot can happen in those games, of course. But when you look at it, I say 16 games and then a Europa League campaign, which I think was 4 games. Is it 4 more matches, 5 more matches? Is that right? Might be 4, I think. To win the tournament. Was that 20 matches, right? So say there's just for argument's sake, 20 games to go this season, yeah? And now we are heavily relying on our first 11 to stay fit for the whole season, for the rest of those 20 matches, which we know is not going to happen. We know that there's going to be further injuries. We don't even know when Lucas Paqueta is going to be back. And do you know what really baffles me as well? Is why don't we ever just take a bit of a chance sometimes? We've got the money. And like, for instance, like Armando Broja, who went to Fulham on loan. Just a loan deal for the rest of the season. No obligation to buy, nothing. Just got him on loan for the rest of the season. Why aren't West Ham doing that? Why didn't we bring in another striker? Why didn't we just bring him in on loan? What would have been the harm for the club just to go, yeah, you know what, bring him in? Because I'll tell you what we could have done. Put Broja up front and stuck Bowen out on the left wing. Or Kudus or whatever. You know what I mean? So then straight away, the problem's resolved. Quickly like that, bang, boom. Okay, we can deal with this now. Got Antonio coming back as well. And suddenly, just that one loan signing would have made a great deal of difference and have breathed some confidence into this side. But no, because we're a little bit unsure with Broja. That's the reason. We're just a little bit unsure. Because don't forget, 5 minutes ago, that bloke was number 1 target. Before, it wasn't long ago, he was the number 1 target for West Ham. They were desperately trying to get him. That's the season we bought Scamacca. The summer even. And he was the number 1 target. We just couldn't get him. We were desperately trying to get a deal with Chelsea done and we couldn't do it. But now all of a sudden, no, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. What's the problem here? Surely it'd be worth trying it. And if it doesn't work, you go, yeah, we sent him back out after his loan, it finished. He didn't quite work for West Ham. Oh, well, not the end of the world. We gave it a go. Show some bloody ambition. Really, really poor. Really, really poor. Sorry to spit. And people are going to say, God, you're being so negative. And to be honest with you, I actually think I'm one of the most positive people. I try to my best to be really positive, but it's hard to be positive after that January transfer window. It really is. And as I say, the selling of Fornals and offloading Benrahma on loan was just shambolic and really embarrassing. I think West Ham actually got away with it a little bit because there's so much other news going on in football. Obviously, you've got Chelsea's financial fair play issues. That's kind of the big headline news. West Ham's shambolic behaviour kind of went slightly under the radar. So the club have kind of a little bit got away with it, but they ain't got a bloody way with it in West Ham fans, to tell you that. We bloody know. We know. And we've watched that. And I'm really pissed off about it. And I just feel like the club have let themselves down. really badly. And I've got, it's got to be said that this so-called transfer committee have a lot to answer for.